You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 65. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today for the 65th episode of the Chopped Podcast. You know this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. You have tuned in to another episode of FriChats. That's where Kara Anzus of the site Fork and Beans, she and I get together and we talk about, great things about food blogging. I mean, of course, we received great feedback from last week's episode, and that's why we're back with another episode this week. So this week we're talking about self-care for blogging entrepreneurs. Let me just say this, blogging is hard work. And I don't mean like dig in a ditch kind of hard work. It's more like soul-wrenching hard work. We have to be authentic. We have to be experts. We have to know SEO. We have to know photography. We have to be social media mavens. I mean, sure, we can be captains of our own universe, but the question is, what kind of captain are you? Are you a nice captain to yourself? Are you hard on yourself? Are you compassionate towards yourself? Well, that's why Kara and I are talking today about self-care. So why don't we get right to it? Everyone, it's time for FriChats. Hey everyone, welcome to the Chopped Podcast. It's time for FriChats. This is week number 2 of our FriChats discussion. I'm here today with Kara Anzus of the sites Fork and Beans. Hi, Kara.
Woo! Hi, Marley.
How are you doing?
I'm ready to get my FriChat on. How are you?
I am so ready for my FriChat. It's not even funny.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so today's topic is self-care. Do we need to define that, Kara, do you think? Can bloggers...
Can I interrupt?
Yes?
I just want to interrupt really quick. I just had this weird vision of, do you ever watch Saturday Night Live back in the old day with Anna Gasteyer?
Yes.
Like Ollie Shannon? Yeah. Remember the girls who were on the radio?
Oh my gosh. And they would talk like this.
For some reason, I just thought that was you and I.
Tell me about your sweaty balls.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
People, well, I'm going to have to leave a link in the show notes page because people are going to hear that and go, what?
Yeah, you do have to check it out.
Well, actually, somebody told me that they thought I had an NPR voice once. And so I actually did a link to that episode because they actually are pretending to be on an NPR show. And
that is hilarious.
Yes. I don't know that they found it funny. I thought it was hilarious. But
it was great.
Yes.
I didn't lighten up.
It includes Alec Baldwin, so that's a nice skit.
Yes. And I think that next week our topic should be rice. So.
I love it. That's very good.
Anyway,
we were talking about self-care. You got me distracted.
Self-care, that's right. Okay.
Yes. So self-care, is that something we should define for people? Do you think bloggers are so busy all the time? Do we have time for self-care?
Of course, we should, right?
I know. Because isn't that kind of the reason we did this?
Yes. I think that it doesn't matter what you do. You should always be taking care of yourself first. And there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse. You can be a mom. You can be a full-time employee. You should always have you come first and take care of that because you can't take care of anybody else if you're just like running on empty, don't you think?
I agree. However, I just want to say that I sometimes find it very discouraging because I feel like there's something I could be doing in each and every moment. It's like I have to make a choice to go, okay, I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps in today. And I meant to go for a walk earlier and I did go for a walk, but it was a very short walk. I wanted a long one to get my 10,000 steps in. So just an example.
Well, but then that sounds to me like an issue of reframing where, okay, my goal was to get 10,000 steps, but oh my gosh, I'm giving myself a pat on the back because I took that time to take even just a short walk.
Yeah, that's true. That's
probably
a good
wouldn't
point.
have done that last year. A lot of the idea of self-care, we think that maybe we have to get a hobby or we have to do something really expensive. I do 4-minute meditation. 4 minutes. I mean, that's it. That's all I can handle because my brain goes all over the place and it's not trained yet to go longer.
Yeah.
And it's what I feel like I can give and feel focused in. So maybe there's an issue of reframing and an issue of maybe I'm trying to bite off more than I can chew. Maybe this small 5-minute segment is all I got, and I'm going to go for it.
I agree. I think you're right. However, I also would just like to say it is also an issue of priorities. For example,
Yes,
I could have easily walked out the door. You know what I think? Sometimes I think I have. We should talk about this one of these episodes. I think I have response. I think I'm a responseaholic. That's what I am. I am so addicted to responding to things. So like I get emails and I feel like I want to respond to them immediately or whatever.
And why?
I think I'm sure science would prove that I get some kind of dopamine hit off of every little email that comes my way. And I want to respond to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's much easier for me to respond to an email than it is to like work on my to-do list.
Do you find that when you respond to those emails that you're getting some kind of praise on the other side, like, oh my gosh, this Marley girl, I'm going to email her all the time because she responds
She's so
back.
amazing. Yes. There are times that happens, yeah.
I'm just curious if that's part of it because that goes into, maybe us bloggers all have kind of workaholism, and maybe it's because our job can be really fun. It can be a lot of work, but it's very enjoyable. But then there's also that ball that's added to the mix of we're people pleasers too.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And if I could create some priorities and say one of the people I want to please is myself, and so I should have just gone out immediately after lunch and taken that walk, and I could have taken the longer walk that I wanted, and maybe I wouldn't have responded to like 2 of the 3 emails. It would have been fine. But you're right. I'm also proud that I at least got out at all.
Yes, high five. I'm okay. This is probably another topic later. I'm not okay. Look, I'm not still in my pajamas, but I'm in pajama form still, and it's almost 2:00 here my time. So, bravo for you for doing that. I have not seen the sun today, so God bless. You're doing good. That's my point.
There's always perspective to be had, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
We've talked about meditation and we talked about exercise. What are some other ways of self-care that you get into?
Okay, so if you heard last week's podcast of FriChats, I talked about my mother's death, and because of that, I have put myself into therapy because it's very needed, and my therapist tells me I have a huge problem with being gentle on myself. Okay, she doesn't say it like that.
Yes.
That's my own, self-beating up. But the way I have been finding self-care lately is watching how I talk to myself. And I have this world I live in of shoulds where I should on myself all the time.
Yeah.
And I should have done this. How come I can't be like that? I should be able to do that. Should. And so part of my self-care is watching that when it happens and being gentle on myself and not judging it. And just acknowledging, oh, there it is again. Look at me. I think I should be better than how I already am. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and it's training. And with the hope of eventually coming out of it being not so hard on myself. But I think that it just takes you off the hook, doesn't it? Like, oh, there isn't a rule set to this life that I'm living. I get to create it. I don't have to listen to anybody else, and that gives me freedom.
And that's what all those shoulds are about, right? I should do this because so-and-so is doing it.
Gosh, they're just maddening. And they're just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Yeah. And, it makes you unhappy. And that's not, I mean, let's talk about a
Yes.
couple of those shoulds because I think that might help. So, for example, we were talking earlier that, whether or not I have 10,000 more or 10,000 total for me followers on Instagram or not is not going to make me happy. I mean, it's easy to think that like I'm going to,
Yeah.
I'm going to post every 3 times a day and I'm going to do all these hashtags. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I could get to those 10,000 followers. But yeah, I think what I
And
love
then
is
what?
hearing you talk about, and then what? Yes. And does that make you happy?
Yeah, and then what?
And
Like,
then
that's
what?
my favorite game to play. It says a lot about me. But, like, when I have certain thoughts, okay, and then what? And then what? And then what's the final result? And that can work in both ways. Is this going to make me happy? Or if I'm feeling anxiety about certain things that might be irrational. Okay, let's follow that thought. So, absolutely. I have goals in mind that I would like to see for myself every year, and at the same time, I have to hold gentleness. In the other hand, if I don't necessarily reach it, how can I reframe it?
Yes.
Knowing that if I don't hit 50,000 followers on Instagram by next month, that's not really a goal, but then that's okay, because that's not the issue. That's not going to make me happy. What's going to make me happy is getting rid of the shoulds and dealing with my own self. Wow, do we hear a pattern here? Is no matter what it is we talk about, we always come back to the self, even though we're talking about self-care, but we always come back to talking with the self that it lies in us.
Yeah.
Everything lies in us.
Everything lies in us. That's so good. And I think here's the thing is we're not saying that you should never, in other words, it would be easy for someone to listen to this or me listening to you. I could say, well, if I didn't have a goal to get to 10,000 followers on Instagram, then maybe I would never post again. I mean, what is motivating me? But then if you think about that, that's really like a fear-based thought. What if your goal was, I want to post things on Instagram that I really love?
I love that, yes. And even if it doesn't get that many likes that I think it should, because then I look at so-and-so and they've got like tons of likes and their stuff isn't that good. We've all had those thoughts. Let's be real.
Yes.
I can at least say, I'm damn proud of what I just posted.
Yeah.
That's part of my soul, and I'm keeping that on my site because I love it.
Right.
That's a really good point, Marley.
And it's about that, not about how many people like it.
Yeah. And then it goes back to last week. Who's in your corner? Well, if you're not in your corner first, then how can you expect anyone else to get behind you?
Yes.
If you're not proud of your work and you're not doing your best, this isn't an idea of perfection. It's about excellence. If you're not doing what is excellent in you and what you can do in this moment, and this time, then it's the same with self-care, right? We're not asking ourselves to be perfect yogis and meditate for an hour and levitate and all of a sudden speak in tongues.
Yeah. Right.
It's ridiculous that we would put that on ourselves, but we do. Let's start slowly. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Go take a walk around the block. That's it. Maybe have a leaf of lettuce as part of your nutrition plan. Something small instead of going to this grandiose idea
of like being the perfect person, the perfect self-care person is really kind of...
Gosh, I'm so exhausted from that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. However, I do think probably, I mean, for me, meditation is one of the biggest things about being an entrepreneur and being involved with self-care. And here's why. I doubted it at the beginning. I kind of thought like, how does meditating help me be more productive or do more of what I love in my day. But what I've learned is that being an entrepreneur and being involved in as a blogger and being creative it's like it's highly energetic work because it requires a lot of your personal energy. It also requires a lot of your authenticity. I love that topic.
Yeah, that's
And
a
I
great,
think the
yeah.
only way to be authentic is that I actually interviewed Kathleen Shannon of the podcast Being Boss, and she said this is when
Oh, well.
your outsides match your insides. And the only way
Yeah,
to be authentic is you have to know who you are on the inside. And I think meditation is like the key that solves that.
absolutely. That's a brilliant point, Marley.
Thank
It's
you.
very, very true. You're welcome.
I want a gold star.
Yes, you did. You were getting a cookie. No, but like, even, some people might not be into meditation, then prayer might be
Oh,
their
yes.
thing too.
Yeah.
Whatever your thing is, I think being in a room by yourself, being silent, and allowing yourself just to kind of, I don't know what it is you want to do, like just
You could
breathe.
journal. You could journal. Yeah, you could
Or you
read.
can journal. That's a great idea too.
Yeah.
Or you can listen to relaxing music, light a candle, take a bath. Having time for you to reconnect with who it is that you are, because you are Marley first. I'm Tara first. We're not bloggers first. That is what
Yes.
we do. It's not who we are, but we can easily mistake that with our work.
Right. It's so true. It does, one leads into the other. And if I don't get likes on Instagram, does that mean I'm not valuable as a blogger or whatever? Yes, it can really mess with your mind.
It can. It can. And what I think is really important here is that if you start doing these things in self-care, it doesn't mean those things are going to go away, those negative emotions. You're still going to feel jealousy. You're still going to feel anger, probably, that, so-and-so has more likes than you do on a certain picture,
Yes.
whatever it might be. But you'll be able to self-evaluate and come out of that a lot faster, and to talk yourself, just to reframe it.
Oh, that's so good. It's such good stuff because I do think it's easy as an entrepreneur, especially if we're like behind the computer screen all day and we're not like, okay, so I used to work in an office and sometimes people, of course, hate interacting with other people. I kind of liked it. I mean, of course, there were days when somebody would drive you crazy or whatever,
Sure.
but I loved collaborating with other people. I loved being in a conference room and we would, kind of figure out who was doing what. And I don't know, I kind of enjoyed that. But I miss that sometimes, I have to be honest. As a blogger, you're kind of stuck behind a
Yeah.
screen. It's like only your head that you're talking to most of the day, You got to
It
find,
is hard.
yes.
It's hard, and I think it's also hard when you realize that the blogging world can be a little competitive too. So now
Yeah.
you're kind of finding people who are your colleagues, and they're going up for the same kind of sponsors that you want or whatever. And so it's hard to sieve out that, that side that maybe you don't want to be a part of, and just find a community.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think authenticity is something that is not a destination. It is something that you have to constantly be tweaking. You have
Yeah.
to- and
Yeah.
so just because you've arrived there one day doesn't mean that you are going to be there. You have to constantly be checking in with yourself. And that made me think of another thing I wanted to say.
Always.
Another form of meditation is just to be present in the moment. So you can actually be washing the dishes. Or I could say that to you how my mom says that. Do you want to hear how my mom says wash the dishes? Hi, Mom. My mom will say wash
Hi, Mom. Wash the dishes. Yeah.
wash the dishes.
Yeah. Where's Mom from?
That's a Missouri thing. But anyway,
Okay, so you are. Yeah.
you could be washing the
Love it.
dishes and you can actually like just pay attention to the water running over your hands and your hands moving around the dishes and cleaning them. Just be present in that moment is a form of meditation.
I love that, because it's just everyday things that
Yes.
that occur in your life, and that you don't necessarily have to go and be separate from your family or whatnot. You can just
Yes.
be doing your typical routine and still find it.
Yes. I heard somebody say to focus on your eyes, that you don't see your face. Focus on the face that's seeing the things around you. And that can help you be in a form of meditation at different moments in your day.
That's so great.
I
That's
know,
so
I love it.
helpful.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Buddhist teaching? It's like a story, tigers above, tigers below. That just
No, tell
reminded me
me.
of that. So one of my favorite authors is, her name is Pema Chodron, and she wrote this story. Well, I don't know if she wrote it, but it's in one of her books. And it's about a woman who is running away from a group of tigers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as she's running, she's getting closer to the edge of the cliff. And so she finds this vine that's hanging off of it and climbs down and is holding on to the vine for dear life. And as she's doing that, she looks down and sees there is a group of tigers waiting for her at the bottom, too.
Mm.
And so she's clinging to dear life on this vine, and all of a sudden this mouse comes and starts gnawing away at the vine.
Oh, no.
And so she's looking up, tigers, looking down, tigers. She's looking up again, mouse. And then she looks to the side, and next to, this clump of grass that's growing off this cliff, she sees this bunch of strawberries that are close to her reach. So she grabs one, and in her predicament, she just takes a strawberry and eats it and thoroughly enjoys it. And the whole premise is tigers above, tigers below. This is the predicament that we're always in, and in life and death. And each moment is what it is. And that we have the choice to delight in the preciousness of every single moment of our life.
Wow.
So there might not ever be a time where we are not, I don't want to say tortured, but
Yeah.
tortured by the fact that we're being chased by tigers, metaphorically,
Yes.
and they're waiting for us at the bottom, and that we're just screwed. But there is always a time and a moment to enjoy.
So I
We
get
just
it.
have
Like,
to be able to see it.
we want life to be perfect in order for us to meditate. And in reality, we meditate to make the real life,
Yes.
what we wanted, strawberries,
That's totally what I'm learning in my old age now. Old age. But that is it. I used to do things because I thought if I got it down, then I would never have to deal with it again. I don't know if that was my religious upbringing or just part of my brain, and its thinking. But I thought that, okay, maybe if I just meditated every day for 30 days, that means I would stop feeling jealousy. As if being jealous was this really negative thing. Well, I'm coming to find out that jealousy is just part of the human condition.
Yes.
We can't necessarily rid it, but we can learn ways to reframe it and to just reroute it. And so what meditation does for me is it gives me an ability to identify jealousy quicker and work through it a little faster. But it doesn't ever go away.
Do you have a process that you use for meditation, or maybe an app or anything that you use?
I use something called Insight Timer. It's awesome. You can set a timer for however long you want, and you can actually have bells that ring through it to kind of bring your mind back. Or you can do guided meditations just on every topic. It's awesome, Marley. You should check it out.
I want to check it out. That sounds really great. And does it play music in the background, or is it quiet?
Yes. Well, the timer part, I believe, is just quiet. I like there's one guided meditation that I'm kind of obsessed with right now. It's that 4-minute one. And it's about cultivating self-compassion. And so that has just meant a lot to me in the place that I'm at right now. So I tend to find the ones that are like 5 minutes or less. But it's great. I highly suggest it if that's something that you like. Do you have a specific tool that you use?
It's so funny that you ask, Kara, because I originally only did Headspace. I honestly didn't even know there were.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't even know there were other options. Headspace gives you 10 10-minute meditations for free, and then you can buy others.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I just do the free ones. And then Breathe is another app that does some really nice guided meditations.
Breathe. Okay.
Breathe.
Ooh, nice.
And I really like, there's one, I wish I could think of the name of the meditation. I'll look for it as we're talking, but it actually talks about you standing on a mountaintop, and, imagining the universe above you and the energy from the earth below you. And I just love that
Oh, that's
meditation.
nice.
Gives me the chills.
I like that.
I also like 10% Happier is another one. It's actually an app designed by scientists that have found
Ooh.
the value of meditation. I don't probably do that one as much, but now we have Amazon Prime, and so I found I just kind of did a search for meditation, and Deepak Chopra has a whole bunch of meditations on Amazon Prime that I listen
Oh,
to, and
I
I don't
have
know if
that too. I'm gonna have to look at that.
his voice is just amazing. I could just probably meditate just hearing him. He's like doing that deep Indian accent, and it's very,
Yeah,
very relaxing sound. But he's got
that
some
sounds great.
very nice ones that talk about they're all guided, obviously, but I really haven't. I don't know, like taken great strength from, like, one of them I listen to as I walk, and he's sitting there. He's just saying things like, I am my breath. I am the shadows. I am the light. I am like all of these things. And I really have loved thinking about how I can embrace the dark side of me as much, because I think I have focused a lot of my life on being this bright, peppy, fun-loving person, which is who I am. But knowing that I can embrace the darker sides, like you were talking about jealousy, that just
Yeah,
feels really good to me. I don't know why. Is that bad? It's probably
because
bad.
you can't. I'll tell you why. I just heard this quote the other week, and it has just taken residence in my heart. You hate yourself. Wait, hold on. I gotta look at it. I don't want to mess up. Start over.
Okay.
You can't hate yourself into the person you will love, and that's why. Like, you can't reject those human parts of you
Yeah.
into and pretend they don't exist, just so only the good exists, because it doesn't work like that. It's like dieting, right?
Right.
You can restrict yourself and go on the most restrictive diet ever and lose a ton of weight and look great and probably feel good to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't deny yourself certain things for the rest of your life. You
Right.
really can't. It'll
Right.
come back. So it's more of an issue of learning how to embrace and accept certain parts of who you are. And I don't know, I think like that self-loving or self-loathing makes you want to be, it just perpetuates you in that same space. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I see what you're saying. So you really can't even move past that dark space until you embrace it. It's interesting that you say that, Kara, because
That's the irony.
it is ironic. I have,
Yeah.
you were talking about jealousy. I actually lately have been giving like when I'm feeling particularly down, I will actually come up into my office and I will write down in my journal, and I will just I will let myself go into that feeling 100%. Like maybe sometimes I
Yeah.
might feel a little bit jealous and then make myself feel bad about it, but I let myself go there. Kara, I mean it. I mean, like, I'll go,
Good.
you know what, this is just not fair at all. And I'll just act like I'll have a little temper tantrum. And it's like immediately it's gone. It's amazing.
Because you have trained yourself up to this point to be passive
Yes.
and not assertive in what you want in life. And so part of that passiveness, I'm just guessing here, part of the passiveness then denies those certain human emotions that we all have the right to feel.
Yes.
So now they're kind of coming up tenfold probably for you now that you're getting in touch with that.
Yep.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Throw more temper tantrum. That's awesome. I love it.
I love it too.
I love it.
It makes me feel like a more complete person. I think that I embrace all of these
Yes.
sides of myself.
Yes. And you're no different than anybody else.
But,
Like part of the syndrome of trying to feel perfect goes along with this idea that you're special and that oh, look at me. I don't deal with that. I'm not the kind of girlfriend who would do that. Or I would never do that to my children, whatever it might be. Exactly. And the reality is, yes, you will. You're just in denial about it.
Yes, that's true.
And there's a lot of relief and beauty in that too.
I have to say that since you threw in an SNL skit at the beginning, I get to throw in one now because when you said that, it reminded me of Stuart Smiley.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm psychic, I think. I love that one. It's the best.
You're special, darn it. Or how does that go?
You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. And you have to say that when you look in the mirror.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, actually. I think I read something that said if you could say to yourself, I love you in the mirror so many times a day, that it does have an impact. It improves your mindset.
Look, people, you hear that and you think, there's just no way. But I went through a period of my life where I was loathing on my body, and it was really weird. One day I just said, stop, I'm never doing that again. I don't want to do that again, at least. And so I stopped talking about it. And anytime I would catch myself thinking about how much I didn't like my body, I would reframe it. And I would make myself stand naked in front of the mirror and accept every part of myself and just tell myself I love myself. And this is just, part of the regular routine of life, going in the shower. Before you get in the shower, you're just standing in front of yourself for like 30 seconds. I swear it changed the way I felt about my body.
Wow.
Because eventually I stopped telling myself horrific things. And when I did, it was really easy to kind of like transition out of that. But there really is power to reframing your thoughts and thinking differently and seeing yourself differently and understanding why you believe what it is that you believe and changing it,
Ah, that's beautiful. I think that seems to me like the capstone of self-care. It should be like the, 101 is to find some way to love yourself a little
stand
bit
naked.
more.
Oh.
And what?
And stand naked in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
Okay, Marley, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Some people, this topic might not necessarily suit them with the idea of meditation or journaling. Do you think that there are other ways that people can find self-care that isn't necessarily in that sort of fashion?
Well, yeah, I think you can do self-care in a lot of different ways. For example, you can, I actually have a book on self-care. Can you believe this? And one of the things she says is, the subtitle is Let Me Disappoint You. And I'll leave a link in the show notes page because I can't remember the name of it right now.
Let me disappoint you?
And her point is that you are going to disappoint people and you have to learn to be okay with that.
Yes. My gosh, that's a topic all in of itself.
You know what? That's
a
really good point. But here's the thing: is if you don't learn to disappoint others, you will eventually disappoint yourself in huge ways.
But isn't that like the perfectionist worst nightmare? Isn't that the reason why we become perfectionists, so we don't disappoint people?
Because it's so hard to say no.
Oh, or just not being there for somebody.
Yes.
But the reality is that part of self-care is telling people no because you have to come first.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's like a light bulb for me. Wow. All right, yes. I'm writing that one down.
And that it's okay to be a little bit selfish because your time matters, how you spend it.
You do matter.
Yes.
Because when you're in a relationship with someone, whether it's a friendship or it is a husband, wife, whatever, you both exist. So I love watching daytime TV. I do. And I watched The Real. And one of the hosts, it was Tisha. She was from Martin. I can't remember her last name. I love her, though. She had said that her husband sat her down when they first got married and when they were talking about having kids, that here's the way it's got to go. You first. You need to take care of you. Then we first. It's going to be you and me, husband and wife, and then kids third. Because if you aren't right, nothing else is right. And so to me, that's why it's really important to not make excuses for why self-care is important. Have coffee. Sit down, have a cup of coffee, and don't look at your phone or have a cup of tea, whatever it is. Sit at your table and have that moment where you're, maybe you're eating your favorite snack. I don't know what it might be, but it doesn't have to look like meditation or journaling. It can be other things.
I see what you're saying.
Do what makes you happy.
Spending time in your garden, whatever it is that makes you happy. Oh, good point. Yes.
Yeah. Go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I'm not speaking from experience because I can't spend like 2 hours in that place. That is my happy place. And that is how I take care of myself, is just walking around like a zombie, a smiling zombie, super excited about all the selections. So,
I want to buy a glass jar or whatever. Yeah, at Michael's.
Oh, don't talk to me about jars. Woo!
Don't get you started, huh?
Don't get me started. Don't even get me started.
But what if there's a room in your house you've been waiting to paint, but you keep, doing one more blog post or whatever. You spend all this time. Why not go ahead and paint that room? That could be a great way of self-care for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love this topic. I think we've talked about a lot here. Hopefully this is good information for people. So. We'd love to hear from you. If you have other ideas of things that you do for self-care, we'd love to hear about it. So actually, and we have an idea for you.
Yes. We would love to see how you take care of yourself, what it looks for you personally. So on Instagram, we would love to see the hashtag #BloggerMeTime. Take a picture, whether it's you're drinking coffee, about to sit down, lighting incense and doing meditation, about to journal, whatever it might be. We would love to participate with all of you in showing each of us to have a community of this is how I take care of myself. And maybe you could find a new idea, a new quote or something over on Instagram through this hashtag. That would be awesome.
I love it. Hashtag #BloggerMeTime.
#BloggerMeTime. Yep.
But maybe not anybody standing in front of the mirror naked saying they love themselves. That probably wouldn't work.
Unless you're... Oh my gosh, Marley, you cracked me up. Yeah. Save that for your own time. We're okay without seeing it.
We'll take your word for it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's good. I love it. Okay, so that's just another great FriChats. I think we did it. What do you think, Kara?
I think that week number 2 success. High five.
Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of FriChats. We'll be back next week with another episode, so come and join us, won't you? If you'd like to see the show notes page where we've left links and notes about today's discussion, or if you'd like to sign up for our weekly email newsletter to get tips on food blogging, head over to choppedpodcast.com. Well, that's it for today's show. Here's to something inspirational coming your way today.